All right, shalom, and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. My name is Esaac ben Israel, and I'm the priest of the United Congregation of Israel, and this is our weekly Bible study that we do every fourth day, or as it is more commonly known as Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. These Bible studies are open Bible studies, meaning that you can ask a question in these. You can send an email to the uci.org at gmail.com. And if we're not able to get to your question today, then we'll get to it on the next Bible study. Of course, this is a broadcast on YouTube, and there's also a call line number for you guys. All the numbers are listed on our website at theuci.org. Before we get started, let's begin with a prayer. So we're going to face the east, and all males remove your head covering, and females always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, we thank you, Yahweh, for giving us another opportunity to gather together and read out of this legacy that you have left unto us. We pray, Abba Father, that you would allow your spirit of understanding to be with us on this night, that we may be able to grow out of the things that we read. For we know that the only understanding that we have, Yahweh, is the understanding that you allow us to have. For we may read a story 4 to 5 times and get something greater out of it each time we encounter that same writing. So we know, Yahweh, that we are to forever be learners. Even though we may have grown to be teachers, Yahweh, we are forever students of you. We are forever putting ourselves in a position where you will be able to teach us. And we thank you that you would allow us to borrow of your spirit that we may be taught. We pray, Yahweh, not just for the people who gather with us physically, but we pray, Yahweh, that you would also allow that understanding and a heart of flesh that would allow us to follow in your divine culture that you have given unto us. We pray that even the people that gather by way of phones and by way of internet, those that gather out of a pure heart to serve you in truth and spirit, we pray, Father, these same things upon them also. In Yeshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. Now I wanted to go into some things. We're gonna there's certain things that are mentioned in this law. This law is our culture, and when we've been like just poisoned so much against any law, that we don't understand that it's culture in that. Even when the Messiah was talking about, you have heard that it was said that thou shalt not kill. But I have told you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause is in danger, of the judgment. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but you find that he didn't change that. He actually took that on a higher level and even made it more difficult, because to be angry with your brother without even having a real cause. And what do you do to establish a real cause? A real cause is if they've sinned against you. Not something that you don't like. I mean, sinned against you. What sin was committed? See, people are always going to do something that somebody else doesn't like. That does not give you the justification to do other things. Is there something written in this book that they did against you? Well, then you don't have a cause to produce. So this culture that we have is a very important thing for us to go through. So we want to begin in Exodus 22, and let's start that at verse 1. And you're going to find as you go through these things, you're going to find that a lot of these things mirror some of the things that are set up by man. And why it does that way, because man got it from out of here. See, these are the things that man used to set up their law. And then the same people are telling you the law is nailed to the cross, but then they use this to set up theirs. Go ahead.
If a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep.
Right. Today they call it restitution. You bother something or harm something of somebody else's, then you have to restore that more. So man got his setup from this, but then man at the same time is out telling everybody that the law is nailed to the cross. Go ahead.
If a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft.
Now, if a thief be found broken up and smitten that he die, there shall be no blood shed for him. He was caught in the act. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution. So this is giving you the opportunity for atonement, but being caught in that act is a pretty dangerous thing. And here it is, you have the law, which is our culture, explaining that. Go ahead.
If the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. If a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field, of the best of his own field and of the best of his own vineyard shall he make restitution.
Right. So man got this from here. These are the very things that we are made to pay when we get into certain things. Yet people are still trying to get you to believe that there's no law. Go ahead.
If fire break out and catch in thorns, so that the stacks of corn or the standing corn or the field be consumed therewith, he that kindled the fire shall surely make restitution. If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges, to see whether he have put his neighbor's goods. For all manner of trespass, whether it be for ox, or for ass, or for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challenged to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges. And whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass, or an ox, or a sheep, or any beast, to keep, and it die, or be hurt, or driven away, no man seeing it, then shall an oath of Yahweh be between them both, that he has not put his hands unto his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept thereof, and he shall not make it good. And if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution unto the owner thereof. If it be torn in pieces, then let him bring it for a witness, and he shall not make good that which is torn. And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, and it be hurt, or die, the owner of thereof being not with it, he shall surely make it good. But if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good. If it be an hired thing, it came for its hire.
Right. If it was a hired thing, that means he paid to get whatever that was. So then it came with this hire. So then you need to consider that if you allowing somebody to use something, but then they pay you for it, you need to consider how much that is you're getting for that, because if it breaks, it's a part of his hire. See, before we get or receive anything, before we loan something out, these things we need to know. Go ahead.
Verse 16, Exodus chapter 22 and verse 16. And if a man entice a maid that is betrothed,
that is not.
pardon me, betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife.
This woman, if a man entice a maid is a young virgin. A maid is a virgin and then is not betrothed. She's not engaged to be married. And he lied with her. He shall surely endow her to be his wife. This is why the Messiah, when he talked to the woman at the well and he said, go get your husband. She said, I don't have a husband. He said, you have well said that which you have said, for you've had 5 husbands and the one you have now is not yours. Why? Because the first one was. See, this is the part, the real positive part in that baptism that people really don't see, having all of these miscellaneous covenants wiped clean. Go ahead.
If her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. You shall not suffer a witch to live.
You shall not suffer a witch to live, but people are into all kind of things today and really think it's cool. Go ahead.
Whosoever lies with a beast shall surely be put to death. He that sacrifices unto any god, save unto Yahweh only, he shall be utterly destroyed.
Right. So when people have and invite us to these holiday gatherings, there's a reason why in all of those gatherings you see this big pig stuck up in there with an apple in his mouth or something like that. That was the sacrifice that they made to those gods. So you don't just show up on a Easter celebration and they just happen to have ham, or you go to your Christmas, dinner and they just happen to have ham. No. These were the things that was offered unto those gods that they're worshiping. And our people don't really get that. We just know that this is what they customarily do. We are creatures of habit, and once we get used to something, we don't want it to change. But that goes, not accepting change goes completely against being born again and casting that old man behind you. Go ahead.
You shall neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you afflict them in wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. And my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword. And your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless.
Right. Verse 21, you shall not vex a stranger nor oppress him, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. When you look at the way the Jewish deal with the things that they deal with, they have something out of that Talmud that they have put together that basically says that they only have to do right to people who are Jewish. So they can do these other things. This is why when you go amongst some of these things, especially in Hollywood, they talk about all the foul things that people have to do to sit on the director's couch. And they have to do all of these things to get in the door in certain arenas. And when you look back at all of these things, you find the Jewish names that are the producers, that are the ones in control. But they have a law, because they have written it themselves, that says that they can do all of these things. They just can't do it to a person who is their brother. This Torah says you shall not do that to any stranger. You must not vex or oppress him. For you must have the understanding in your heart of what it's like to be a stranger in a land that is not yours. And I've encountered people who are supposed to be Israelites, and they talk about how well or how rigorously they're going to rule over other people. And I always ask them, where you get that from? What book you read? Now we're talking about, this is old covenant law. Now, if Yahweh didn't turn around, brought Yahshua, and Yahshua took it on a higher spiritual plane, if we couldn't do it then, what makes you think we can do it now? It was higher in punishment then than it is now. Go ahead.
Verse 25. If you lend money to any of my people that is poor by you, you shall not be to him as an usurer, neither shall you lay upon him interest. If you at all take your neighbor's raiment to pledge, you shall deliver it unto him by that the sun goes down.
Now, verse 25 is a clear example of how the Jewish go in and out of this law. When they lend money and things to one another, they don't charge one another interest. Now, the interesting thing is they are the ones that are in charge of the big banks. The thing, when you even look at Donald Trump, who he got all wrapped up in his cabinet, Jewish, right? Then this is how they are constantly coming up and taking over countries. They're able to deal with money one way amongst themselves, but then they got this part, they put that in the Talmud. So if you lend money to any of my people that is poor by you, you shall not be as one who uses interest. You shall lay notes upon him. But then them same people own banks. We turn around and go in there and we get the highest interest rate. While the people who are of their people, who have money, they don't get any. They have a diamond exchange that is owned by Jewish people, and only them are allowed to go into this diamond exchange, and they make $1 million deals, and there's no paper allowed in the gathering. So $1 million diamond deal is made with a handshake. You try to go in there and deal with them with anything and see what all you gonna have to shake a leg, a arm, a head, and you gonna have to bring your mama's leg, your daddy's arm, right? The interest rate is gonna be out of this world. So it shows you how people pick bits and pieces of this word, bits and pieces of this law as it suits their particular need or desire. This is why what we heard on Sunday morning was constantly the law is nailed to the cross, but you need the tithe. Tithe is in the Old Testament. How do you jump in and out and just pick things that you like? Go ahead.
Verse 26. If you at all take your neighbor's raiment to pledge, you shall deliver it unto him by that the sun goes down. For that is his covering only. It is his raiment for his skin. Wherein shall he sleep? And it shall come to pass, when he cries unto me, that I will hear, for I am gracious. You shall not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of your people. You shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe fruits and of your liquors. The firstborn of your sons shall you give unto me.
You shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe fruit. The first of your increase should be offered unto Yahweh. That's the best part. That is showing obedience and honor unto Yahweh by giving him the first of those. Then it says, of your liquors. But you have people that are walking around and say, well, I'm too holy. I will not drink any wine. Yet, the same people will tell you the first miracle they can see Yahshua doing is turning water into wine. Now, what kind of sense does it make to turn water into wine and then tell people that you're too holy to drink it? Go ahead.
Likewise shall you do with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with his dam. On the 8th day you shall give it me. And you shall be holy men unto me. Neither shall you eat any flesh that is torn of beast in the field. You shall cast it to the dogs.
Verse 30, likewise shall you do with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with his mother, with his dam. On the 8th day you shall give it me. Goes along the same sign as the circumcision. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22, and let's start that at verse 1.
You shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide yourself from them. You shall in any case bring them again unto your brother. And if your brother be not near unto you, or if you know him not, then you shall bring it unto your own house, and it shall be with you until your brother seeks after it, and you shall restore it to him again.
Now, this is difficult for us because we are such creatures of habit. We find our brother's sheep, then we start feeding the sheep. We say it's our sheep. Now the brother show up. Now we don't want to get him his sheep back.
Attached to this.
But I done got used to it now. And look at it, no more chilling. Yeah, that's congratulations. But that's my sheep. Go ahead.
In like manner shall you do with his ass, and so shall you do with his raiment,
Uh-huh.
and with all lost things of your brothers, which he has lost, and you have found, shall you do likewise. You may not hide yourself.
You may not hide yourself. We say, what that thing said, losers, weepers, finders, keepers.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
You shall not see your brother's ass or his ox fall down by the way, and hide yourself from them. You shall surely help him to lift them up again. The woman shall not wear that which pertains unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are abomination unto Yahweh your Elohim.
Right. And we know from a cultural standpoint what things are men's clothing and what things are women's clothing. We know even this whole thing of wearing pants is a new thing. You go back just a couple of decades, a generation or so, and you find even the police women had on dresses. Now you find brothers wearing women clothes and women wearing brother clothes, and it's got all kind of strange things. Yahweh said it's an abomination. They ain't even did nothing yet. Just by putting on the clothes of the opposite sex, you're already in abomination. Go ahead.
Verse 6. If a bird's nest chance to be before you in any tree or on the ground, whether there be young ones or eggs, and the dam sitting upon the young or upon the eggs, you shall not take the dam with the young. But you shall in any wise let the dam go, and take the young to you, that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days. When you build a new house, then you shall make a battlement for your roof, that you bring not blood upon your house, if a man falls from thence.
Right. This will let you know that the houses wasn't built in pyramid style like almost every house is in America. They were able to walk upon their roof. It had a slight decline, so all of the water could roll off of it, but they're able to set up shop on the top of the roof. They can go up to the top of the roof, stand on the roof. They might be doing stuff up there on the roof. They might be cooking out or something up on the roof. Even the way that this law is set up completely goes against the way that these houses are built in America. These houses are built in pyramid shapes to honor these pagan gods. You can't walk on top of a pyramid house. Ain't nobody walking on your house unless they doing some work on it. Go ahead.
You shall not sow your vineyard with diverse seeds, lest the fruit of your seed which you have sown, and the fruit of your vineyard be defiled. You shall not plow with an ox and an ass together. You shall not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together. You shall make you fringes upon the four quarters of your vesture, wherewith you covereth yourself.
Right. And you keep telling these people to have these fringes, and they got them all the way around the bottom of the hem of their garment. It says in the four quarters of your vesture. That would be two in the front, two in the back. But the way people are dealing with it, they have these fringe things all the way around, and the only one who went all the way around the hem of the garment with something was the priest. He had a pomegranate and a bell, a pomegranate and a bell, all the way across the hem. When you read that, it is completely different from verse 12, which says the fringing shall be upon the 4 quarters of the vesture. So even the people who walking around claiming fringes are wearing the fringes wrong. Go ahead.
Verse 13. If a man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid.
I found her not a virgin. Go ahead.
Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate.
And the tokens of her virginity was when they laid the cloth under her for the first time that her and this man got together. What proceeded out of her would be the tokens of her virginity, because that's going to happen to every woman that is a virgin. Then that hymen is going to be popped, and there is going to be tokens of that. Go ahead.
And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hates her. And lo, he has given occasion of speech against her, saying, I found not your daughter a maid. And yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him. And they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he has brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. And she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of her virginity be not found for the damsel, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she has wrought folly in Israel to play the whore in her father's house. So shall you put evil away from among you. If a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die.
Right. Now consider the way that the hypocrisy happened during the time of the Messiah, when they said they tried to get him to condemn the woman. They said, we found this woman in the very act of adultery. So if they found the woman in the act of adultery, that means they found the man that she was so-called adulting with. Where was he? They didn't bring him. They just brought her. It was already something wrong with the twisted trial. If a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, they shall both of them die. But yet, they brought one trying to see if the Messiah would condemn her. He already knew it was a twisted trial. So he said, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. And as they all went away one by one, then he said, woman, where are your accusers? So people think, okay, well, you know, he's okaying adultery. No, it was a fake trial. The man wasn't even there. Go ahead.
Both the man that lay with the woman and the woman, so shall you put away evil from Israel.
So it wasn't just supposed to be that woman's life that was supposed to be on the line. It was supposed to be his too. But they didn't even bring it. Go ahead.
If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto an husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then you shall bring them both out unto the gate of that city, and you shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he has humbled his neighbor's wife, so you shall put away evil from among you.
So you have to look at how it says this happened in the city. It says, being in the city, she cried not. Said if she cried out, somebody should have heard her. How is it that didn't nobody hear you holler out if you were forced in the midst of the city? Go ahead.
But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. But unto the damsel you shall do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man rise against his neighbor and slays him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her.
So if this then happens in the country, the woman gets the benefit of the doubt, because they say She was far enough from the city that even if she cried, no one would have heard her. But you see in verse 27, for he found her in the field. She didn't go to the field to meet him. So this is that part when you go and examine this thing that's happening with Bill Cosby. It is a multitude of women that say that this thing has happened onto them. So by that alone, it is making him look really bad. But I tell people it is always interesting when rich people so-called do something to somebody. It is always in their home, in their hotel room. It is amazing how when you read this book, it talking about if a man find a woman in the field. When somebody get raped by some poor dude, it's out and about. It's out somewhere else. It is amazing how many rich dudes get accused of rape in their own place or in their own hotel room at 4 o'clock in the morning. Remember, it says if she was found in this place, not that she went to the place. See, people don't really think that there's any liability that should be placed upon the woman for some of her own actions of going to a place. See, they just think, okay, well, no means no. How many times you said yes when you took that route? What you thought y'all were gonna do 4 o'clock in the morning in a hotel room? Go ahead.
Verse 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. A man shall not take his father's wife, nor discover his father's secret.
Right. This is his father's skirt.
Pardon me.
If a man, verse 28, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not engaged, and lay a hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lie with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver. He shall pay the dowry, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. This is what they used to call shotgun wedding. The daddy found out because she got pregnant. And then he showed up with that shotgun and cocked it. And the man said, I do. This is where that comes from. See? Let's go to Genesis chapter 34. Now, what's really interesting when you look at this Bill Cosby case, that this one that they're trying him on is, I think, like 12 years old. They filed it right before the statute of limitations ran out. And you see, as you read through this law, and it starts telling you, okay, if a man forced this woman and, this thing happened, they're expecting to hear, why was there no screams? Even when they say that this thing happened with the woman that's on trial, they said she kept dealing with him after it. See, that there are certain things that if a woman knows the order and the law of things, then there's certain ways that she needs to deal. Going back and dealing with the individual that you claim raped you is not going to help your case. Not if it's done in righteousness, if it's done according to the things that are written here. But we know that's not how the courts in America roll. We know that. Genesis 34, and let's start that at verse 1.
And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Yaakov, went out to see the daughters of the land.
So, Dinah left the place of where her culture was because she wants to go out and see the daughters of the land. She wants to see how they live. See? Because their culture is not like the culture of Yaakov and his sons and their families. Go ahead.
So she walked outside the hedge.
So she walked completely outside the hedge because she want to see, hey, I want to see how the whores live, how the harlots do it. Go ahead.
And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her.
This is the prince of the country. So he's accustomed to getting whatever it is he wants. Go ahead.
And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Yaakov, and he loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife.
Now, he don't know he already married her. Get me this damsel to wife. I must have her. You already had her. You took her. And you owe this father the dowry of virgins. See, what ends up happening, especially in the twisted things that are set up here in America, somebody come and tell you that they want to marry your daughter and you supposed to pay for the wedding. That don't go according to this book. The father is supposed to get paid. You're removing a soul out of his house. So he's supposed to lose a soul out of his house and pay you? Go ahead.
And Yaakov heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Yaakov held his peace until they were come. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Yaakov to commune with him.
Now, part of this right here was real confusing because, when I first read this, you see Yaakov is dealing with it in a real savvy manner. He held his peace until the kids came. He's speaking unto this man whose son has just raped his daughter, but he's still dealing in a certain way. But as you examine it, you understand that Yaakov know two things. First of all, I'm among these people in their land.
Mm-hmm.
Then my daughter went outside of our area and went into theirs. So you don't find Yaakov going off. Go ahead.
And the sons of Yaakov came out of the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved, and they were very angry, because he had wrought folly in Israel in line with Yaakov's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. And Hamor communed with them, saying, The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. I pray you give him to wife. And make you marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you. And you shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade you therein, and get you possessions therein. And Shechem said unto her father and unto her brethren, Let me find grace in your eyes, and what you shall say unto me I will give. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I'll give according as you shall say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife.
So, even these people being of another nationality, being of another ethnicity, they understand that there should be a dowry and a gift given unto this man for taking this woman out of his house. But they're trying to go into things the back way, which is normally what we try to do. We go into it and we jump into something first. Now we're going to cover up our deed with marriage. Well, I got all hot and bothered and I had to have something, so let me go ahead and cover this up with an I do. Go ahead.
And the sons of Yaakov answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, deceitfully, and said, Because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. And they said unto them, We cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. But in this will we consent unto you, if you will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised. Then will we give our daughters unto you, and we'll take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people.
Right. So now the brothers are hot. They are upset. They are ready to get some vengeance on their own. But you see, even here in Genesis 34, there is no set law. But they're saying, if every last one of your males be circumcised, then we'll do these things unto you. You get then into the law of where it starts talking about these holy days, then Yahweh actually says the same things that they said. All your males must be circumcised. If a stranger is going to keep the Passover, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come and keep the Passover. Now, this is Genesis. There is no law set up. Yet they're dealing and putting this upon these people even before there is an official law code. The law was always spiritual. Just man wasn't spiritual enough to deal with it. Go ahead.
You know, when you look at this situation, you look at people who are numbered but are still strong enough to stand up for their culture and way of life and say, no, y'all need to be like us. You know, like you've always talked about the multitude. Everybody want to go run to do. No, they're like, no. Y'all need to become like us.
Right.
We're outnumbered, yeah, but we're not giving up our culture.
Exactly. And that's that. And we do the opposite. We see people, and if the majority of that people in that area do one thing, we automatically want to go against our culture and do the thing that everybody else is doing. Go ahead.
But if you will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. And the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Yaakov's daughter. And he was more honorable than all the house of his father.
Now, he was more honorable than all the house of his father, and you got this the rapist. Go ahead.
And Hamor and Shechem his son came unto the gate of their city, and communed with the men of their city, saying, These men are peaceable with us, therefore let them dwell in the land, and trade therein. For the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters take to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only herein will the men consent unto us, for to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us be circumcised, as they are circumcised. Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us.
Right. So you see, they're dealing in some slickness too. Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? We're going to eventually get all of their substance. So they're both dealing with a slick hand. Go ahead.
And unto Hamor and unto Shechem his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of his city.
Now, you know you got to be in charge to talk other people into a circumcision to get a wife that don't have anything to do with them. That's pretty heavy to try to prescribe upon somebody. Go ahead.
Keep saying his city.
Yeah.
And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword, and came upon the city boldly, and slew all the males. And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house, and went out. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain, and spoiled the city, because they had defiled their sister. They took their sheep, and their oxen, and their asses, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones, and their wives took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, You have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me, and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And they said, Should he deal with our sister as with an harlot?
Shall he deal with our sister as with an harlot? But do understand, this is how you got to back up to verse 1. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. That's how he used to dealing with the daughters of the land. So he ended up dealing with her like he dealt with the other women. So if you carry yourself amongst these other women, you do that, then you're going to be treated that way. And this is the thing that we are not dealing with, because America has this thing set up, and we have completely walked against our culture to pick up the ways and habits of those of Babylon. Let's go to Judges chapter 19. You know, you look at the situation with Bill Cosby, and you feel bad that the dude is like 79 years old or whatever he is, and can't even see. The guy's legally blind. Now he's having to defend himself against accusations, and it's coming from a woman that he can't even see. Judges 19, and let's start that at verse 1.
And it came to pass in those days, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took to him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Yehudah. And his concubine played the whore against him, and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Yehudah, and was there 4 whole months.
And the concubine played the whore. Now I've heard some of them, Facebook internet sister teachers who said, well, the woman was not playing the whore just because she went away to her father's house. She left her home to decide that she wanted to go back to her folks' house. What do you think she was going to do? What do you think that was for? She wanted a break from being married. I need a vacation. She needed a whorecation. That's what she needed. She needed a whorecation so she can go away and enjoy herself. So she can get this weight off of me. Go ahead.
And her husband arose and went after her, to speak kindly unto her, and to bring her again, having his servant with him and a couple of asses. And she brought him into her father's house. And when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him. And his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with him 3 days. So they did eat and drink and lodge there. And it came to pass on the 4th day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart. And the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law, Comfort your heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward go your way. And they sat down, and did eat and drink, both of them together. For the damsel's father had said unto the man, Be content, I pray you, and tarry all night, and let your heart be merry. And when the man rose up to depart, his father-in-law urged him, therefore he lodged there again. And he rose early in the morning on the 5th day to depart. And the damsel's father said, Comfort your heart, I pray you. And they tarried on till afternoon, and they did eat both of them. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father said unto him, Behold now, the day draws toward the evening. I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day grows to an end. Lodge here, that your heart may be merry, and tomorrow get you early on your way.
So now we got the woman has already been there 4 months. Mm-hmm. She has already gone away, and now the father keeps delaying him. Go ahead.
You know, what's interesting in this whole thing is when you go to the part of meeting the father-in-law. So y'all never met before? So now he don't know the ways of this man because they never met before.
It's rather interesting. But I tell you what, he knows she ain't supposed to be back there. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
But the man would not tarry that night, but he rose up and departed, and came over against Jebus, which is Jerusalem. And there were with him 2 asses saddled, his concubine also was with him. And when they were by Jebus, the day was far spent, and the servant said unto his master, Come, I pray you, and let us turn into this city of the Jebusites, and lodge in it. And his master said unto him, We will not turn aside hither into the city of a stranger, that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over to Gibeah.
We will not go into these cities that are not of our people. We're going to go amongst our own brethren. And you're going to find some of the most hell you're going to ever encounter is going to be amongst your own brethren. I've had Gentiles that have done some great things for me to give me get me out of some things that I didn't even know I was about to get into. Warn me about some things. Some of the hardest things you're gonna run into gonna come from dealing with your own people. Go ahead.
And he said unto his servant, Come, and let us draw near to one of these places to lodge all night in Gibeah or in Ramah. And they passed on and went their way. And the sun went down upon them when they were by Gibeah, which belongs to Benjamin. And they turned aside thither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, he sat him down in a street of the city, for there was no man that took him in into his house to lodging. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at even, which was also of Mount Ephraim, and he sojourned in Gibeah. But the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city. And the old man said, Whither goes you? And whence come you? And he said unto him, We're passing from Bethlehem Yehudah toward the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence am I. And I went to Bethlehem Yehudah. But I am now going to the house of Yahweh, and there's no man that receives me to house. Yet there is both straw and provender for our asses, and there is bread and wine also for me, and for your handmaid, and for your young man which is with your servants. There's no want of anything. And the old man said, Peace be with you. However, let all your wants lie upon me, only lodge not in the street. So he brought him into his house, and gave provender unto the asses, and they washed their feet, and did eat and drink. Now as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, Bring forth the man that came into your house, that we may know him.
Now they want to know him in the biblical sense. Now, understand something. Now this man has run into a situation of going back to get his concubine, his wife, who has decided that she wanted to go and have a little whorecation. Now, on his way back from coming to get her, now men trying to rape him. They ain't trying to get her. Go ahead.
Verse 23. And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them, and said unto them, No, my brethren, no, I pray you, do not so wickedly, seeing that this man is come into mine house, do not this folly. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them will I bring out now, and humble you them, and do with them what seems good unto you. But unto this man do not so vile a thing.
You see what he said? Here's my daughter, behold, a maiden, a virgin, and his concubine. So understand what was offered. The maiden, the young virgin, and the concubine. Go ahead.
But the men would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them. And they knew her, and abused her all the night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go.
Hey, remember now, he offered the virgin. They didn't take the virgin. See, people don't see the judgment that's included in these things. Now, he offered the other girl. How is it? These wicked men did not choose the other girl. They chose the concubine. They let that girl stay there. He offered both. Go ahead.
Then came the woman in the dawning of the day, and fell at the door of the man's house where her master was, till it was light.
Now, she went to her father's house to play the whore. Then on the way back, she gets abused all night by a group of men. People still not seeing the connection. Go ahead.
There's concubines for that there's consequences for that virgin. Hardly a fair game.
Well, you got to consider some situations. When you put yourself in a situation, it's just like what we read earlier. It said if a man catch a woman and it's in the city, they expect to hear some hollering.
Yep.
In neither one of these situations where it's talking about this in this law, there's not one situation where this woman went somewhere with the man. First of all, why are you going somewhere with him? And people think they are, excused in doing some of these things. There's certain things that you got to know not to get yourself in. You can't just go to everybody's place in every situation and then believe that you somehow covered in after you don't put yourself out there. Go ahead.
Because even in the beginning when it talks about her intentions, your intentions came upon you.
Right. And we see that. In one situation, there was this woman who wanted to see how the other people lived. I want to see. So she's flirting with their culture and end up getting raped. This one wants to go and play the whore. See, she need a whorecation. See? Now she ran up and she gets treated like a whore all night by multiple men. Go ahead.
Verse 27. And her master rose up in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman his concubine was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon the threshold. And he said unto her, Up, and let us be going. But none answered. Then the man took her up on an ass, and the man rose up and gat him onto his place. And when he was come into his house, he took a knife and laid hold on his concubine and divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces and sent her into all the coast of Israel.
And people say, oh my God, this was so wicked. What he's doing is activating all the 12 tribes of Israel to see how this woman was abused unto her death. And then he sent these pieces to every last one of them so that they would understand the depth of the evil that was done amongst Israel. Because the man wouldn't stop in a strange place. He'd think he better off if he stopped in Israel. And it was Israelites that did this. Go ahead.
And it was so that all that saw it said, there was no such deed done nor seen from the day that the children of Israel came out of the land of Egypt unto this day. Consider of it. Take advice and speak your minds.
Right. So this was meant to bring on what's going to be the judgment, because this were men of Israel who have done this. So he's actually seeking vengeance for what was done to the concubine. He's not trying to inflict more situations upon the concubine. At this point, she's dead. He can't inflict no more upon her. Now he's trying to get righteous judgment. Keep going.
Then all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together as one man, from Dan even to Beersheba, with the land of Gilead, unto Yahweh in Mizpah. And the chief of all the people, even of all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of Elohim, 400,000 footmen that drew sword. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel were gone up to Mizpah. Then said the children of Israel, Tell us, how was this wickedness? And the Levite, the husband of the woman that was slain, answered and said, I came into Gibeah that belongs to Benjamin, I and my concubine to lodge. And the men of Gibeah rose against me, and beset the house round about upon me by night, and thought to have slain me. And my concubine have they forced that she is dead. And I took my concubine, and I cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the country of the inheritance of Israel, for they have committed lewdness and folly in Israel. Behold, you are all children of Israel. Give here your advice and counsel. And all the people rose as one man, saying, We will not any of us go to his tent, neither will we any of us turn into his house. But now this shall be the thing which we will do to Gibeah. we will go up by lot against it. And we will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000, to fetch victual for the people, that they may do when they come to Gibeah of Benjamin, according to all the folly that they have wrought in Israel.
All the folly that have been wrought in Israel. See, what people have to understand is that when evil is done in a land, there has to be an atonement for that, because that has caused the land to sin. So you have to consider all of the things. People thinking, okay, well, they had to do this judgment. Understand what the judgment was about. The judgment is to make atonement for the land. Understand, when the person, what we talked about, when the brother ended up stealing the Babylonish garment, right? What happened? 33 other people died. Not him right away. See, this is what people don't understand. We have become that selfish nation that said, well, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Not understanding that when the sin goes on in the land, it then affects everybody in the land. So they're not just doing that because they want to take judgment in their own hands. This is the part about Yahweh's law that people don't really get. No. When you turn your head and to a blind eye to it, understand, you have now justified it, and you have now accepted that evil amongst the land. Now it's going to spread. That's why it says to cut off evil in the land of Israel. Because if you don't make atonement for that, it starts spreading. So this is not just about, and that's what people don't get when they're reading this law, because it was taught to us in a very strange way. It was taught to us that this is all about condemning people. No, this is about continuing to be able to live in your land. It says, if you don't give the land a rest, that the land has a Sabbath. It says, when the land vomit and spit you out. Wait a minute. So the land gets upset when it gets defiled, and it's going to deal with you. Go ahead.
And even in the situation of the old man, how many people look out for somebody that they look, don't go around that corner. I don't know you, but you don't know what's around the corner.
Right.
And that's what the old man, hey, you need to come on in here.
Right. See, old man knew what kind of men was out there. Hey man, look, I don't know what you're gonna do, but you can't stay in the street all night. Cause I'm telling you, the freaks come out at night. I'm trying to tell you, the freaks is on their way out here. Hey, bro, it's getting dark, and I'm trying to tell you, if the freaks come out at night, you need to come on. You need to, hey, come in here. Don't stay out here in this street. Cause you stay out here in this street, it ain't gonna be nothing left for you in the morning. I know these men.
He didn't even know, because he said they thought to have slain me. He thought they were trying to kill him.
Hey, they said, no, we want to know him. Go ahead.
Verse 11. Judges chapter 20 and verse 11. So all the men of Israel were gathered against the city, knit together as one man. And the tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribes of Benjamin, saying, what wickedness is this that is done among you? Now therefore deliver us the men, the children of Belial, which are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death, and put away evil from Israel. But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel.
Now, this is where the evil now takes a whole nother turn. All they had to do was deliver the men who did it. But you are only as righteous as the wickedness you justify. So now, it is just like all of them did it, because now they are gathering together to protect the men who did the evil act. Go ahead.
I mean, even to this day, you go to prison for what, harboring a fugitive?
Yes, you go to jail for harboring a fugitive. You go to jail for hiding evidence. You go to jail for lying on the stand to try to protect the person. Much less physically saying, no, you can't come in here and get them. Imagine the police said, we got a warrant. Who you got a warrant for? We got a warrant for your cousin Pookie. You ain't coming in here and getting Pookie. What? No. He part of my house. You ain't coming in here. Oh, it's finna be some problem. Now I got this warrant to say I can come in here and get him. Well, I'm telling you, come in here and get him, there's gonna be some problem. Well, we about to have some problem because we leaving here with Pookie. So now they done got themselves in a war that shouldn't have had nothing to do with them. And that's what we do. We're gonna back up other people's evil. They ain't got nothing to do with us. But we're gonna hide the evil. Go ahead.
Verse 14. But the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the cities unto Gibeah to go out to battle against the children of Israel. And the children of Benjamin were numbered at that time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. Among all this people there were 700 chosen men left-handed. Every one could sling stones at a hairbreadth and not miss. And the men of Israel beside Benjamin were numbered 400,000 men that drew sword. Also these were men of war.
Now, all of this has come down to one woman deciding she needed a horcation. Now, we got all these men gathered for war. Now, other women now, see, this is what the people don't see the righteousness in the judgment and in the law. Now, other women are about to lose their husbands because she needed a vacation from hers. See, that's the part people don't like to look at. It's going to be some houses now that's going to end up that ain't no man in it because she want to go away for a while. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of Elohim and asked counsel of Elohim and said, which of us shall go up first to battle against the children of Benjamin? And Yahweh said, Yehudah shall go up first. And the children of Israel rose up in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel put themselves in array to fight against them at Gibeah. And the children of Benjamin came forth out of Gibeah and destroyed down to the ground of the Israelites that day 22,000 men.
22,000 men dead because somebody needed a vacation. But it ain't done. It ain't done. See, we don't think about the colossal damage that things are going to cause down the line because we're thinking about right now at this particular moment. Go ahead.
And the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves and set their battle again in array in the place where they put themselves in array the first day. And the children of Israel went up and wept before Yahweh until even, and asked counsel of Yahweh, saying, shall I go up again to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother? And Yahweh said, go up against them. And the children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin the second day. And Benjamin went forth against them out of Gibeah the second day, and destroyed down to the ground of the children of Israel again 18,000 men. All these drew the sword.
All because one woman wanted some space. So we had how many the first time?
22,000.
22,000. Now the second time we got 18,000. Because of one situation. And people don't see why you have to call out wickedness. See, if wickedness is called out beforehand, you then back up and look at how many of these lives don't have to be lost. So we up to 40,000 because of this. Go ahead.
Then all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came unto the house of Elohim and wept and sat there before Yahweh and fasted that day until even and offered burnt offering and peace offerings before Yahweh. And the children of Israel inquired of Yahweh, for the ark of the covenant of Elohim was there in those days. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, saying, shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother? Or shall I cease? And Yahweh said, go up, for tomorrow I'll deliver them into your hand.
Right. At this point, shall I go up again or shall I cease? Because we should be beat. we getting hurt out here. Go ahead.
And Israel set liers in wait round about Gibeah. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day, and put themselves in array against Gibeah, as at other times. And the children of Benjamin went out against the people, and were drawn away from the city. And they began to smite of the people, and kill, as at other times, in the highways, of which one goes up to the house of Elohim, and the other to Gibeah in the field, about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said, They are smitten down before us, as at the first. But the children of Israel said, Let us flee, and draw them out from the city onto the highways. And all the men of Israel rose up out of their place, and put themselves in array at Baal Tamar. And the liers in wait of Israel came forth out of their places, even out of the Gibeah. And there came against Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of all Israel. And the battle was sore, but they knew not that evil was near them. And Yahweh smote Benjamin before Israel. And the children of Israel destroyed out of the Benjamites that day 25,100 men. All these drew the sword.
So now add this to the slain number, all because of what was going on in one house. So now we have what? 65,000? Go ahead.
So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites, because they trusted unto the liers in wait, which they had set beside Gibeah. And the liers in wait hasted, and rushed upon Gibeah. And the liers in wait drew themselves along, and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. Now there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liers in wait, that they should make a great flame with smoke rise up out of the city. And when the men of Israel retired into the battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill of the men of Israel, about 30 persons. For they said, Surely they are smitten down before us, as in the first battle. But when the flame began to arise up out of the city with a pillar of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and behold, the flame of the city ascended up to heaven. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw that evil was come upon them. Therefore they turned their backs before the men of Israel onto the way of the wilderness. But the battle overtook them, and them which came out of the cities they destroyed in the midst of them. Thus they enclosed the Benjamites round about, and chased them, and trod them down with ease over against Gibeah toward the sunrising. And there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men. All of these were men of valor. And they turned and fled toward the wilderness onto the rock of Ramon. And they gleaned of them in the highways 5,000 men, and pursued hard after them unto Gidom, and slew 2,000 men of them, so that all which fell that day of Benjamin were 25,000 men that drew the sword. All these were men of valor. But 600 men turned and fled to the wilderness onto the rock of Ramon, and abode into the rock Ramon for months. Ramon 4 months, And the men of Israel turned again upon the children of Benjamin, and smote them with the edge of the sword, as well the men of every city as the beast, and all that came to hand. Also they set on fire all the cities that they came to. So
once again, this is all about one issue, and all they had to do was deliver the men who had done the deed. But deciding that they're going to go along with the people who have done this deed, now they have basically made an agreement with all the evil that the other men did. You might as well have done it yourself. Keep going.
Yeah, it's a great slaughter. More than 100,000 people.
Oh, it's ugly. All right, it is really, really ugly the way this is going, and Benjamin is about to get completely wiped out. Go ahead.
Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpah, saying, There shall not any of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife. And the people came to the house of Elohim, and abode there till even before Elohim, and lifted up their voices, and wept sore, and said, O Yahweh Elohim of Israel, why is this come to pass in Israel, that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel?
Now, even though he has done this evil thing, the tribe of Benjamin, they are now going before Yahweh. Yahweh, we about to wipe out a whole tribe. We cannot do this thing. Why? There's going to be one tribe lacking in Israel. Yet, you're going to look at them tribal charts, and they'll just take a tribe off of it like it ain't nothing. Yet, we can see the evil that Benjamin did, and Yahweh didn't let the whole tribe get destroyed. Go ahead.
And it came to pass on the morrow that the people rose early, and built there an altar, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. And the children of Israel said, Who is there among all the tribes of Israel that came not up with the congregation unto Yahweh? For they had made a great oath concerning him that came not up to Yahweh to Mizpah, saying, He shall surely be put to death. And the children of Israel repented them for Benjamin their brother, and said, There's one tribe cut off from Israel this day. How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by Yahweh that we will not give them of our daughters to wives? And they said, What one is there of the tribes of Israel that came not up to Mizpah to Yahweh? And, behold, there came none to the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For the people were numbered, and, behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there. And the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying, Go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and the children. And this is the thing that you shall do. You shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that has lain with man. And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins that had not known man by laying with any male. And they brought them unto the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. And the whole congregation sent some to speak to the children of Benjamin that were in the rock Ramon, and to call peaceably unto them. And Benjamin came again at that time, and they gave them wives which they had saved the life of the women of Jabesh Gilead, and yet so they sufficed them not. And the people repented them for Benjamin, because that Yahweh had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. Then the elders of the congregation said, How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing the women are destroyed out of Benjamin? And they said, There must be an inheritance for them that be escaped of Benjamin, that a tribe be not destroyed out of Israel.
You see that? Yet, brothers will turn around and give you a 12 tribes chart that does not include Dan. Will tell you that Dan is gone because some crap, he became something. It's a bunch of mess. But with all of this evil and all of this bloodshed, Yahweh still did not allow a tribe to be removed. Understand, these are the pillars that are set forth in heaven. They're gates that are named after them. There are 12 thrones. It's 12 foundations. It can't be 11 boys. He's got to have these tribes. Go ahead.
You know what we don't even see is we've got a count of men dying. But here we can see that the city was destroyed with the women in it.
Mm-hmm. So you see a whole bunch going on. And most of the times the count that they counting is the men.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Verse 18. Howbeit we may not give them wives of our daughters, for the child I have sworn, saying, Cursed be he that gives a wife to Benjamin.
Now, consider this. Them women who ain't did nothing. Them women who were going home to their husbands every night, doing what they were supposed to be doing. Go ahead.
Then they said, Behold, there is a feast of Yahweh in Shiloh yearly in a place which is on the north side of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, and on the south of Lebonah. Therefore they commanded the children of Benjamin, saying, Go and lie in wait in the vineyards, and see, and behold, if the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in the dances, then come you out of the vineyard, and catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. And it shall be, when their fathers or their brethren come unto us to complain, that we will say unto them, Be favorable unto them for our sakes, because serve not to each man his wife in the war. For you did not give unto them at this time that you should be guilty.
Right. You ain't lost the way that we've lost. See? So you got to pay your dues now. Go ahead.
And the children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives, according to their number, according to their number of them that danced, whom they caught. And they went and returned unto their inheritance, and repaired the cities, and dwelt in them. And the children of Israel departed thence at that time, every man to his tribe and to his family, and they went out from thence, every man to his inheritance.
So all these people now, away from their families to deal with this mess, Benjamin tried to protect the evildoers, and they almost got wiped out as a tribe. Which all began because somebody said, I want to go back home to my dad's house. Go ahead.
In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes.
Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 22. Start at verse 28.
If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay down on and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lays with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. He may not put her away all his days.
All right. So, if a man finds his damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, he lay a hold on her and lie with her, he may not put her away all his days. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 24. And let's start that at verse 1.
When a man has taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he has found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house.
Now, when you find all of this law, what people don't consider is it is the man that has the power of divorce. So when the woman left the house, she was already in error, period. The woman does not have the right to divorce the man. See, this is why people don't understand the power of what this baptism is and being able to get all them zombies out your rearview mirror. But it don't do you no good if you're going to get in the water and put more zombies in your rearview mirror. Go ahead.
And when she's departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and gives it in her hand, and sends her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that she's defiled, for that is abomination before Yahweh, and you shall not cause the land to sin.
You see that? You see that? This is why those things had to go on. You shall not cause the land to sin. It is not about taking judgment in your hands. It is not about doing all of these things. It is about you have defiled the land. And now everything in the land is going to go foul because you allowed these things to go on in it. Go ahead.
Which Yahweh your Elohim gives you for an inheritance. When a man has taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife, which he has taken.
All right, let's go to Matthew. Let's say 5. Yeah, let's start Matthew 5. And let's start that at verse 17. Now, it's very it's interesting that we have been told this thing about the laws nailed to the cross, the laws nailed to the cross. This is the thing that we always were told. Now, I want you to pay attention to the things that we just read. If a man didn't like, first of all, it was a man who was doing the divorce, but the man is given a bill of divorce, and the woman leaves the house, right? And then she go and marry somebody else. Now, this is old covenant, right? Okay, it is very interesting that as we start getting into this book, that the people who say that they have a problem with old covenant law actually operate like old covenant law. It is absolutely interesting because the Messiah says something completely opposite of what that law just stated. So, matter of fact, you don't even read that yet. Go to Matthew 19. I want to read them back to back. See, I want you to have in your mind the law that said divorce, go get married, divorce, go get married again. Now, read this part. Matthew 19 started at verse 1.
And it came to pass that when he had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause?
Now, remember what the book said. It said, if you find some uncleanness in her. It didn't say what the uncleanness had to be. Okay? But if he found some uncleanness in her, he may write her a bill of divorcement and send her out of his house. So now they're asking, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? Go ahead.
And he answered and said unto them, Have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh?
When you two become one flesh, people don't have any problem doing this naturally. They love becoming one naturally. It's becoming one spiritually, which is the problem. See, learning how to walk together, having the same things at heart. See, that's walking together in the spirit. But people don't have any problem walking together in the flesh. That's the easy part. Go ahead.
Wherefore there are no more two, but one flesh. What therefore Elohim has joined together, let not man put asunder. They say unto him, Why did Moshe then command to give a writing of divorcement and put her away?
Why did Moshe say we could just put them away with a letter? Go ahead.
He says unto them, Moshe, because of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so.
From the beginning it was not so. Moshe put it in there because of the hardness of y'all heart, so y'all don't kill each other. But from the beginning it was not so. Go ahead.
And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication.
Except it be for fornication. Go ahead.
And shall marry another, commits adultery.
Commits adultery. Now wait a minute. Whosoever divorces his wife, except it be for fornication, and marries another, commits adultery. The old covenant law said, you ain't like her, give her a letter and send her out the house. So then, it is amazing that the way the church taught us, get a divorce, get remarried, get a divorce, get remarried. Yahshua said, there's something wrong with that. Now, these are the very people who telling you that ain't no law, yet they have taught us marriage by old covenant law, while telling us that old covenant law is done away with, but then requiring tithes out of us. Boy, we've been duped. Boy, we've been duped. They jumping in and out of this book as it suits their particular purpose. And we love to have it so. Go ahead.
And whoso marries her which is put away does commit adultery.
So now everybody after that is in adultery. Why they keep thinking, oh, I got into this, got out of that, got into this, got out of that. I'm cool. No, you ain't. Everybody in the line is adulterous. But that ain't how they taught us on Sunday morning. And we bring that Sunday morning thought process into Sabbath day sermon class, and there's going to be some problems. That Sunday morning teaching got to stay at Sunday morning teaching. Because Yahshua says something completely different. And it is amazing, but consider this. Who did he call hypocrites? He said the scribes and the Pharisees were hypocrites, right? He said, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. The leaven was their doctrine. The Pharisees required tithes, but they omitted the weightier matters of the law. Okay? Well, I think that's Matthew 23. So, then you find out the way that this thing has been taught to us. Write a bill of divorce, send her out of your house. She can go marry somebody else. And you can go marry somebody else. Yahshua said if you do it, you commit an adultery, and whoever get with them, they commit an adultery too. See, they're not reading this in the church. They cannot be reading this in the church. So this lets you know where the hypocrisy and the Pharisees really are. They tithe. They teach tithing every 2 or 3 Sundays. And they teach the old covenant law of marriage. They teach the old covenant law of tithing while omitting, what does he say? You have omitted the weightier matters of the law. See, there are better things than the things that they are teaching. But they've omitted all of those things while teaching that. So, we think the Pharisees is one group of people. The Pharisees in Sunday morning. Go ahead.
No, even with his statement, he said Moshe gave you that. He didn't say Yahweh told Moshe to give this to you. He said Moshe gave you that because of the hardness of your heart.
Hey, one thing about this. Moshe knew the manner of people that he was among. They gonna kill it. He said, Moshe said, look, I'm going to teach you this song when you go against Yahweh. Not if. We can go ahead. We can schedule the date. He said, as soon as I'm gone from you, you're going to go a-whoring unto all these gods. And what we seen, as soon as our elder died, we had people, man, there were people that had been in the word 15 years before the day I got there. They had 30 plus years in the word. What happened when my elder died? They act like they hadn't heard no word. They what word? Yahoo. Not Yahweh. No, Yahoo. What? Now you don't know Yahweh? Cause my elder died? My elder died. Yahweh didn't die. That's what he said. As soon as I die, you're going to go a-whoring. And what do you find all throughout the book of Judges? Every time the judge is alive, they do what they're supposed to do. As soon as the judge dies, they go a-whoring against Yahweh. And they stay that way until Yahweh puts a power unto somebody to raise them up. And they find, long as they can see a man that they believe has the spirit of Yahweh, as long as they can see a man that is being directed by the spirit of Yahweh, they fine. Soon as he dies, they don't believe Yahweh can raise up nobody else. They don't believe that the spirit of Yahweh can deal with somebody else. They say, hey, the man who Yahweh was dealing with, he is dead and gone. Let's party. We see it over and over. Judges is a 430-year period of exactly that. Over and over and over. It just does not stop. So when it talks about he gave it to them for the hardness of their heart, do understand. Remember that point? They was about to stone Moshe. We're talking about the man who went and talked to Yahweh for us. You trying to kill him? They was about to stone him. He knows these people, man. So when he talk about the hardness of their heart, he knows how hard their hearts are. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 19 and verse 10. His disciples say unto him, If the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he said unto them, All men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it.
He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. If that is not given unto you, don't try to take unto you something that don't belong unto you. Let's go to Romans chapter 7. Now we have to keep in mind now, this is also New Testament. So when people start saying all of these, adverse things, and yet they tell me that all they read from is the New Testament, my reply is you must hadn't read very far in it. Because I'm trying to figure out how you coming up with this stuff if you don't read nothing but the New Testament. Romans 7 and verse 1.
Know you not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives. For the woman which has an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he lives.
So long as he lives. As long as he is alive, she is married to him. That's why when it got to the point with the woman at the well, when he says, where's your husband? She said, I don't have a husband. He said, you have well said that what you said, for you've had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not yours. Because you still married to that first dude, because he's still living. That's why the power of that baptism is so strong. You get to be born again. As it is written, if a man is not born again, he shall not enter into that kingdom. Go ahead.
But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband. So then if, while her husband lives, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress.
Hey, wait a minute. So now we got Saul saying this, and we had Yahshua saying this. How many more witnesses? Everything is verified by 2 or more witnesses. We already got 2 witnesses. We already got 2 witnesses right here. Saul is saying the same thing that Christ said. And it's very interesting that the Pharisees on Sunday morning teach something completely different. What did he say? Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. And the leaven is their doctrine. See, we reading out of the same book, but another doctrine has been taught out of this same book. See, beware of the leaven of those Pharisees. Go ahead.
But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she's no adulteress, though she be married to another man.
She is no adulteress, though she be married to another man, because she was free from that law when her husband died. See, the church has caused us great harm by teaching us these things, by misteaching us these things. They have done great harm unto us. Go ahead.
Wherefore, my brethren, you also are become dead to the law by the body of the Messiah, that you should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto Elohim. For when we were in the flesh, the motions of sins, which were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we were held, that we should serve in newness of spirit, and not in the oldness of the letter.
In the spirit of the law, not in the letter of the law. We are delivered from the law of animal sacrifice, so we don't have to shed blood for every sin that we commit, but it should be a spiritual sacrifice of a humble and contrite spirit after something was done against Yahweh's holy law. See? That's the thing that we have to get into. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7.
1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1.
Yep.
Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband.
Right. Now concerning these things which you wrote unto me, it's good for a man not to touch a woman. If, like we had read before, if it was given unto him to be a unit, then he has no desire to deal with a woman. Then you have those that have put together these things like the Roman Catholic priesthood, that I'm going to take a vow of celibacy. Understand something. The priesthood followed the male lineage, meaning that the man had a son, and the whole Levitical priesthood were the sons of Levi, the sons going through. So they got to be married to have sons. Yet they have put forth a priesthood and told you that they are holy because they've taken a vow of celibacy, and they've taken a vow to be away from women. And in doing so, they have gotten people to believe that they are just holier than thou. Wait a minute, man. The priesthood follows sons. Who told you that that was making you holy? If that wasn't given unto you, you're going to get yourself into some trouble. And likewise, then you find all the nuns who done had aborted babies that they threw under the church. You got all the kids that end up getting molested. Why? So he can show up in public face and say, I have made a vow of celibacy. We just looked at an article where there was this one priest who had been convicted of over 30 different molestations. And the Roman Catholic Church forgave him and sent him to another place, would not allow them to charge him. Has molested over 30 kids, and they know it. And they let him go. You are only as righteous as the wickedness that you justify. So setting up this erroneous setup of a man so-called not being able to be with a woman and still be holy, that is being ignorant of Elohim's righteousness and going about to establish your own. Go ahead.
Verse 4. The wife has not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also the husband has not power of his own body, but the wife.
Right. So each one of them are to dedicate themselves to one another in that same observance and reverence. Go ahead.
Defraud you not one the other, except it be with consent for a time.
Defraud you not one the other, except it be with consent for a time. That means y'all done already discussed this. Look, I'm going to, I got to do some fasting and some praying. I'm going to need you to be away from me for a minute. Look, I'm not going to do this right here for a minute while I go through that. That is with consent. That's an agreement between y'all. Not some agreement you made to yourself. Go ahead.
So you take this right back to the Levite and the concubine. No agreement or consent was made.
No agreement or consent was made. I'm out of here. Go ahead.
That you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency.
So, in your period or time away of defrauding one another or not being with one another, Satan is all in the other person here. While you doing one thing, Satan is all, hey, boy, I bet you don't see that over there. Boy, look at it, boy. Look at it. Look, you want to bite it, don't you? But bite it, right? Satan messing with your mind while the other one's sitting over here doing whatever they doing. Satan is all in your ear. You like that, don't you? And he do the same thing to sisters as he do to brothers. Ain't no different.
You don't know what he doing.
See?
He been gone for a month.
You know? Look, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Ain't nobody got to know but me and you. And as soon as Lucifer convince you, He'll leave you standing right there. All right, I'm out. Where you going, Lou? I thought we was in this together. No, you done now. And that's when you feel the most horrible. As soon as you get through sinning. That's when he leave you. He be there holding your hand the whole time, everything going down. Soon as you get finished, he'll leave you standing there by yourself. With Judas Iscariot, he did not come to himself until he was done betraying the Messiah. What happened? How he come to himself? The demon left. When the demon left, now he was like, well, I want to get the money back. Nah, bro, we can't take the money back. No, man, but I betrayed an innocent man. What's that to us? We ain't got nothing to do with that, brother. You brought this to us.
You see you to that.
See, you do whatever that is you need to do to take care of yourself. Now he over here trying to hang himself. Why? Because the demon gone. See, the adversary of the devil gonna make you feel like you right all the way down to the wire. And then he gonna leave you. Go ahead.
But I speak this by permission and not of commandment. For I would that all men were even as I myself. But every man has his proper gift of Elohim, one after this manner and another after that.
Every man has his proper gift of Elohim. If it was not given unto you to be a eunuch, do not pronounce yourself to be something that you are not. See, now you got these people who have made vows and now they want to renegotiate the vow. The word says, be careful what comes out of your mouth. Say not to the angel, oh, I made a mistake. So now you want to take the vow back? I made a vow, but I think I made a mistake. He didn't excuse Israel when they said they vowed that they were going to protect the people of Gibeah, that they were going to do all of these. Then 3 days later, they found out Gibeah was lying. Hey, man, so now you're going to back up off your covenant? No, we're not going to do that. Go ahead.
Verse 8, I say there to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. And unto the married I command, not I, but the Adonai, let not the wife depart from her husband. But and if she depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. But to the rest speak I, not the Adonai. If any brother has a wife that believes not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away.
Right.
And the woman which has an husband that believes not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him.
Let her not leave him if he be pleased to stay with her. Now, part of that being pleased to stay with him or her is not poisoning your walk or poisoning your ability to serve your Elohim. See, they can say with one mouth, yeah, I don't believe what you believe, but I want to stay. Well, if you want to stay, then you going to have to not poison my walk. Go ahead.
For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife.
Check that internet, brother. Go ahead.
And the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now were they holy. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases.
So this is legal separation then. This is legal separation given to us in the new covenant. In the New Testament, rather, I'm sorry. This is legal separation. If the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases. But Elohim has called us to peace. Now, you go back to the first part of the divorce. He said, Yahweh gave this to you. Moshe gave you this to you for the hardness of your heart. That's why he gave this to you. For the hardness of your heart. Go ahead.
For what know you, O wife, whether you shall save your husband?
So the wife has the ability to save the husband. That ain't how it was before. Before, it was women wasn't even allowed in the sanctuary. Now we're talking about a woman has the ability to save her husband who's a non-believer. Go ahead.
Or how knows you, O man, whether you shall save your wife? But as Elohim has distributed to every man, as the Adonai has called every man, so let him walk. And so ordain I in all churches. Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Is any called in uncircumcision? Let him not be circumcised. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of Elohim, that every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. Are you called being a servant? Care not for it, but if you may be made free, use it rather. For he that is called in the Adonai, being a servant, is the Adonai's free man.
All right, let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5, and let's start at verse 22.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Adonai.
Consider that. As unto the Adonai, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Adonai. Do you understand how much submission that is? So some of the things that we end up saying to one another, would we say those to our Messiah? Would we speak out of turn? Would we speak condescendingly? Would you do those things to your master who art in heaven? Go ahead.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Adonai. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as the Mashiach is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto the Mashiach, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
So let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Man, there are Christian weddings where they took out obey. They done took those out of the vows. Now understand now, this is also the New Testament. This is that New Testament that everybody say they believe in, but yet these parts are not dealt with. They said, look, I ain't submitting to nobody. I don't like that word obey. But you got to think about the culture as well. You got a bunch of men who've been raised without male direction, and now they're leading houses without knowing how to lead houses. So there's a whole lot of backing up that we have to do. Because when you understand and you've watched a man lead a house, you understand that that man ain't always going to be liked. And see, when you got them men who are leading houses, but they was raised by their mothers and not seeing those. See, this is something I had to deal with on my own. That you still trying to be liked when it's a job that's got to be done. So everybody saying what they want, what they got to do, ain't got nothing to do with what need to be done for this house. See, that's what starts causing this problem. That you're not able to effectively lead because you're still trying to be liked. Like and love is two totally different things. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as the Mashiach also loved the church and gave himself for it.
You have to sit down and meditate on that to see how much that is. How much did Christ love the church? It says he gave himself for it. People will die for something because dying don't take but a second. It don't take but a second to die. But to live for something is something altogether different. To live for something and to give yourself for it, that means you are allowing certain parts of you to be altered. You love your wife. Husbands, love your wives even as Christ loved the church. He allowed himself to be punished for the church. He allowed himself to be embarrassed for the church. He allowed himself, even while being denied, for the church. He went through a lot of things for the church. Now, this is a hard thing to do, especially as we are coming from these broken households, and then get in this word and find out, hey, there are certain roles that people are supposed to play here. So you just start backing up and looking at the things of how Christ loved this church and gave himself for it. You have to then consider that as he's allowing himself to be punished, he's still got the power to remove the punishment, but he don't. He's got the power, just like he said, look, man, I got the power to ask my Father, and he will send legions of angels. But I got a job to do. See? So then that means I can't even do this within my own power that I have. I can't fulfill my own fleshly need because my love for the church outweighs that. But I can call right now, and my Father will have legions of angels to take care of this business. But then I love you so much that I got to offer myself up for you, because if I don't, there is no salvation for you. So I cannot go through the pain of being beaten, tortured, dragged up a hill, thrown on a torture stake, and left to be embarrassed amongst all these people. I can get out of that. But if I do, ain't no salvation for you. Yeah, that's pretty heavy right there. Go ahead.
You know, even with all that, he was the one constantly putting himself into jeopardy. You think about it, he went into the temple and turned over. So you were constantly frustrating them and agitating them with your deeds and your doings.
But he's doing it, right, to make the church better. So ask yourself a question. When you go to your house, are you willing to turn over a table to get your house in order? That's the question. That's the question. See, that's the question. See, you don't ask the bigger question right there, brother. See, when you go in there, did he do that? Yes. Because he said what? My Father's house is not a house of merchandise. So are you willing to go home and to say, to hell with peace, let's get this running the way it's supposed to be running? Why is that over there? What are these kids supposed to be doing right now? Why are they doing that? Now, you can't go in there and doing all that and you ain't doing that neither. Now, I'm finna go do what I gotta do. But you need to be doing what it is you're supposed to be doing. Say, oh, get back here, you've been on the home shopping network all day. So, it need to be something going on here. But he loved his Father's house so much that he was able to put his own self in jeopardy for it. That's the love that a husband is supposed to have for his wife. It ain't that he's trying to punish the wife. I'm putting myself in jeopardy for your salvation. That's how much love is supposed to be there. So when he goes in and turns over these tables, he is trying to get this house in order because he knows the judgment of Yahweh is coming. And I got to do all I can to save my wife, Israel. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and you commented earlier about obedience being taken out of anything having to do with marriage in Babylon, and obedience is the key. Believers, the church, that body is obedient to the head. Just like when Yahweh gave the law at Sinai, they said, all you have said, we will do.
We will do.
That's obedience. I will obey what you've said. And that's the very thing that, in this generation, they're not willing to do.
And it's funny that it also says, and we can read that later on down, obedience is better than sacrifice. Mm-hmm. See? But what's pushed to us is what? Tithing. I'm not saying you're not supposed to tithe. Tithe is definitely in the law. We're supposed to try and do all we can. The first fruits that we get are supposed to go unto Yahweh. But we know we under all kind of pressure here in the daughter of Babylon. It's people sometimes can barely pay their rent. But them Pharisees will tell you, you better still bring that 10%. But Pastor, I can't keep my lights on. You better get some candles. Right. Them Pharisees said, you need to take care of this, but omit the weightier matters of the law. See, this stuff they won't teach you because it's too uncomfortable. So what happens? People like me end up looking like the aggressor. I end up looking like the bad man because I'm teaching the uncomfortable things while they're saying all the sweet things about how God love you. Just put your check in the box. God love you, child. Make sure you put the check in the box. Oh my God, he love you. God not angry with you. Put the check in the box. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm sorry. We got a building fund. Put the other check in the box. Oh, we love you. Oh, we got to feed the hungry fund. Put the check in the box. So now they say all the nice things. And then the people who are really teaching, they try to make those people out to be something that they are not. But this stuff that we're reading here, this stuff is in the New Testament. This is the same stuff that they ought to have been taught us. Go ahead, brother. Let's finish this up.
Verse 26. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word.
Yes, that he might sanctify and cleanse it. That's why you go through those things. That if Adam had not sinned with his wife, he would have been in a situation to offer up supplications and cover his wife's sin. But because he sinned with her, and that's what we want to do. We want to be together. Together sometimes can get leave no intercessor for the house and get everybody else in the house killed because everybody trying to go together. If Ananias and Sapphira, if one of them had stepped aside, there was an intercessor for the house. But both of them agreed, now the whole house dead.
And they was together. They said the foot of those who took him away come
Right.
on you too.
So they was together in death. See, sometimes people taking that together thing a little bit too far. Somebody got to save somebody. Somebody got to pray for somebody. I can't pray for you if I do it with you. Go ahead.
That he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies.
Loving your wife as your own body. Man, you know how serious that is? How much attention you pay to your body? When it start hurting, you start trying to see about it, don't you? Don't you know when your left leg hurt, you know your left leg hurt. You know it. Your body automatically starts compensating because you automatically start leaning to the right because your left leg hurt. The question is, do we pay enough attention to see that same hurt that's going on? And a lot of times we're so busy with other things that escapes us. But this is also a part of our punishment, having to be raised in the daughter of Babylon, under Babylon's ways, that walking in the culture that Yahweh has given unto us gets now a little bit difficult. So if men ought to love their wives as their own body, that's paying a lot of attention to it. Let me tell you something. When you hurt, you don't find out you hurt a week later. You don't hurt your when you slam your hand on the door, you don't wait 2 weeks and say, ow. I ain't never seen nobody do that. No, you know automatically that there's a part of it that hurt, and you deal with it. Go ahead.
He that loves his wife loves himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as the Adonai the church.
Right. So he that loves his wife loves himself. Why? Because she is him. As the two are gathered together and become one, they are now one together. So if one part of the body hurt, the other part of the body hurt. So one leg or the arm can't say, look, I ain't worried about the leg hurting because I'm not a leg. See, I'm an arm. But the pain in the leg is going to affect the rest of the body. See? Because when you start favoring one leg and now you got to walk around that one leg. Now the other leg start to burning. It start to get hot. Because now you're putting a whole lot of pressure on it because one of them won't work. Now that burning shoots up the back, your backside and going up your back. Now your whole other side is hurting. Why? Because it's automatically trying to carry the load that the other side of the body can't carry. Go ahead.
For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
Right. And see, people don't understand the importance of that. A man shall leave his father and his mother, and this definitely is dealing with a lot of women. When you deal with a situation where, especially what we've gone through here in the daughter of Babylon, there are a lot of men that have been primarily raised by their mothers. So the mother has basically implanted herself in the boy's life. So then when he gets ready to get married, he still got his mama sitting in a part of his heart, and that ends up causing a place that the wife can't sit. That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. And we got a whole lot of men that have gone through that, being raised primarily by women. Go ahead.
This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning the Mashiach and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband.
And the wife see that she reverence her husband, and every man love his wife even as himself. And these are things that we have to do our best to practice here in the daughter of Babylon. But this love for one another shall be perfected in the kingdom of Yahweh Elohim. But as I always say, you're going to play the game how you practice. So if you're over here practicing, sitting on the bench, drinking all the Gatorade, that's how you're going to do when the game starts. You ain't going to even notice that the game done started because you're going to be sucking down all the Gatorade. You still think it's a warm-up, the band playing, you just enjoying yourself. You don't even know the game done started. And that's not going to work. But that's all that we're going to do for tonight. Let's leave out with the prayer. We're going to face the east. And all males, remove your head covering, and females always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, we thank you, Yahweh, for allowing this remnant to gather together to read out of this legacy that you have left unto us. Yahweh, we are not worthy of your holy and righteous direction, but yet we pray, Father, that you would direct us, that you would guide us, Father, that you would protect us. We pray, Father, that you will remember that we are just men and women raised in the daughter of Babylon, raised up in flesh, taught the ways of the adversary, the devil. We pray, Father, that you would remember that we are just now learning our culture, Yahweh. So we pray that you would open up your understanding unto us and begin to guide us out of your holy and righteous law, out of your holy and righteous culture that you have given unto us, that you prescribed unto our ancestors, but they did not keep it. We acknowledge the sins that we have done, Yahweh. For you says that if we open up and seek you with our whole heart, if we acknowledge our sins before you, Yahweh, that you will be merciful and forgive us. We pray, Father, that you would do those things that you have promised. And we pray, Father, that you would show us how to keep our promises. We ask these prayers not only for those that gather with us physically, but even those that gather by way of phones and by way of internet, those that gather out of a pure heart to serve you in truth and in spirit. Yeshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.
Hallelujah.